I think because it's still growing, people feel like they can have their hometown, they can have their feeling, but they can also help build it into becoming something even better down the line. And so I think that there's a lot of love for realizing, oh gosh, I have an idea and it's not anywhere in this city and I can make this happen. And that's what people want. Like, that's what makes them want to build a place here, a home here.
Old habit, you draw the curtain. Lonely only if they ever leave. Do you feel free?
Hello, my name is Michael Zarick, and this is Third Space Indy. This podcast is a podcast where we talk about community organizers, community organizing, and bring people together, sort of talk about making a sense of place. Today, I am joined by Kate Grimm. She is an arts administrator, and she is the production
director of Tonic Ball.
And what Tonic Ball does is it brings local artists together across the city in various event spaces to help raise funds for hunger relief. That's pretty much all I know so far, but I'm hoping that she can enlighten us, share a bit about her role in that, as well as just give us some information about the Tonic Ball, which is coming up in the fall, right?
It is, yeah.
Cool. All right, Kate, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on here today.
You've shown me, I've passed by this on the bus a lot of times, but I've never come in. The Stutz.
Yeah, this is the Stutz. This is a really, really cool place. It houses a lot of artists and small businesses that are working on getting into bigger spaces. I worked here for a while when I was working for Pattern. My name's Kate Grimm, director of production for Tonic Ball. I've worked at a lot of various arts organizations since I moved to Indy 3 years ago. I've worked for Pattern, Hi-Fi, Romanus Records, Tonic Ball, and Bloombox Festival, and I'm currently working at IU Indy in the School of Production, or in the School of Social Work.
I just want to say, I'm going to say this into the microphone because I just said it to you. When I first reached out to you, you said, I am not a community organizer. And then you just listed off like these core identity of the music scene of Indianapolis.
That's
like
fair.
So I think you are underselling yourself heavily, which is probably a good...
Who doesn't have imposter syndrome,
I think the humbleness is maybe one of your traits that I've learned so far. So why don't you what's going on? You don't seem super excited about your work, but what about your work outside of your 9 to 5?
Oh, yeah. My 9 to 5 pays the bills. So, yeah, outside of that, I do a lot of things in the indie music scene, but it's all like admin related. Like, I don't know how to play an instrument. I haven't been on stage in over 10 years. But I know how to run a festival really well. I know how to get bands to do things, for us. That sounds very sketchy, but and I know how to like keep people organized for projects and whatnot. And those are skills that I have found that the indie music scene really needs. There's a bunch of really wonderful, amazing musicians around here. But there aren't so many people that are an amazing musician and also know how to create formulas on Excel spreadsheets.
I was actually talking to a music artist who plays trombone 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, how's your band going? Because I know he plays at the Jazz Kitchen on the Northside. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, I quit recently. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, I was professionally trained at University of Indy. Or Indy University, whatever the order is.
U-Indy or IU-Indy, whichever one.
It was U-Indy. He was like, but everyone else in the band was not classically trained, and that means they show up late, they're disorganized, and they just don't respect my time. And I think what I hear from you is that you are the glue that is forcing these people who are not, that maybe are a little more informal, but still very talented, and like being like, all right, it's go time. Lock in.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a skill to be like, look, I know that responding to emails and maintaining a schedule probably isn't your favorite thing in the world, but that doesn't mean they're not good at it. It just means I got to send them a couple extra reminders and make things like really easy for them to read and to get a hold of and whatnot. So yeah, it's a talent.
So I have not lived in Indianapolis for very long. I moved here in October.
Oh, wow.
My wife is from here, but she lives from Brownsburg, so not like super native to Indianapolis. So my experience with the Tonic Ball is reading the website. So can you tell me more about the sort of, what is it like? From what I know, there's hundreds of bands, millions
Of bands.
but they're all local, and then you basically are just hitting various venues across the city.
Yeah, so Tonic Ball, we take over 5 venues in Fountain Square. Hi-Fi, White Rabbit, Radio, Square Cat Vinyl, and then the Fountain Square Theater. And we play one tribute artist out of those the whole night. So like, it could be Lady Gaga, it could be Rihanna, it could be Hall & Oates, Parliament Funkadelic. And we, like Hi-Fi last year had Lady Gaga. And so we had like 12 to 14 local bands come through and only perform Lady Gaga songs. So every band gets like 2 or 3 songs. They get a 20-minute set, and then they're off stage, and the next band comes on.
Are they doing it in their own style?
Yeah, they're
dope.
doing it in their own style. So like, we really encourage artists to like make it your own. One of my favorites is this great band fronted by Macy Ann, and she is like this incredible metal singer.
Yeah.
And she goes up there and like sings Rihanna and does like Rihanna metal, and it is phenomenal.
Rihanna metal's not something I expected to think about today, but that sounds
Yeah,
really fun.
it's so cool. It's really cool. It's a great way to see what indie like has to offer musically, and then also you're hearing songs that you're comfortable with them. You're not going and listening to like new music, which can be really intimidating for a lot of people.
It's sort of like a gateway drug to the local indie scene.
Yeah, 100%. Like, anybody that was there last year and saw Pat and the Pissers do Jack White probably had never heard of Pat and the Pissers, but I guarantee you after that performance, like, they have gone and seen them perform now. So like,
I would be hesitant to see Pat and the Pissers.
it is one of the best like local bands in Indy at the moment. If I can do one plug, it's go see Pat and the Pissers.
That's so funny. So when is the Tonic Ball?
Tonic Ball is always the Friday before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
That's
So
easy to remember.
It is, right? It's super easy. And yeah, and it is also a fundraiser for Second Helpings. And Second Helpings is a really cool organization that's been around for about 25 years. And they do a lot of work fighting or dealing with hunger relief in Indy. So they're like working against food deserts. They're training people to become chefs and like to get culinary skills. They are providing meals to the community, and especially like right now, it's really wonderful that they have this thing that's been going on. We're super happy to make our fundraiser for them. We provide like 300,000 meals approximately. Yeah,
That's
with
great.
them. Or
What's the name of the organization? I'm sorry.
Second Helpings.
Second Helpings.
Yeah.
So how long has the Tonic Ball been going?
This is our 24th year.
24th?
Yeah.
How many have you been involved in?
I've only been involved in 3.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, because
But you take a big role for only being your third.
Yeah, I like walked in and I said, hey, let me do this. I know how to do it.
You know, sometimes I think, and I'm unemployed right now. Sometimes like
In there.
just like shoving your way into a space, which is kind of what I'm doing with everyone I interview, is like really effective. You just say like, I am here. I have the skill set. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got started in Tonic Ball, actually. I was, when I first, only moved to Indy 3 years ago. And when I first moved here, I was like taking a bunch of like odd jobs and whatnot, trying to land on my feet. And Tonic Ball came through, and I was like, well, I had heard about it, networking through a friend of a friend. And I thought, oh, this sounds really cool. This sounds like something I'd like to do. And so I did it for a year, and then the day after it was all done, I messaged the director and I was like, hey, I know how to do this. I can definitely help you. Like, here's where I think we can work on things and like build this up to be something even bigger than what it already is. And it's been that ever since,
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
you kind of do just like worm your way into it and just own your skills.
So how involved with the music scene outside of the Tonic Ball are you? Are you going to house shows every week, or like maybe not even house shows, like legit venues?
I'm not cool enough for house shows. I'm not
You're not
cool,
getting those invites?
and I'm too old for house shows.
That's
But
probably
if
true.
somebody wants to invite me to a house show, I will gladly go. That's what I did throughout most of my 20s. But no, I'm pretty involved outside of that. I go to a lot of local shows. I worked for Hi-Fi and still work for Hi-Fi in a part-time capacity. Those aren't so many local bands. It's more like regional, national touring bands. And then on a more local scale, I work for Romanus Records, which is a local record press that's actually based here in the Stutz with us, up on the 3rd floor. And he like has a label and he signs local bands to it. And then he is also a record press, and his thing that he's known for is like filling records with things.
Oh,
so like sand-filled records
like
or
various
liquid.
objects.
He does a lot with bugs for some reason. Everybody wants a bug-filled record. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
I come from like software. And
Okay.
filling things with bugs is not ideal.
No, they highly look down on that. If you bring a computer in and it's filled with bugs, they're gonna say just throw it away.
I have heard that like the Indianapolis music scene is strong. I heard that from Khalid from the Can, the theater.
Yeah.
So what is your sort of gauge on the Indianapolis music scene? Like why do you think it's so, unique or like strong?
Yeah.
Any of those types of things?
Yeah, truthfully, the punk kids want to mosh, and there are spaces here to let them mosh. And I think that's
like
one
that.
of the most beautiful things about the Indianapolis music scene is there's a lot of spaces that are open to all ages. I think of like Healer. Have you heard of Healer?
I don't.
Oh, man.
I'm out of it.
Dude, Healer is the weirdest place one of the weirdest places in Indy.
Where is
It's on the south side somewhere in a strip mall where there's nothing else except for like a lone McDonald's out there. And it is an art space and stage, but like they have all these like weird little exhibits in tiny rooms that you can go into, and like one room is filled with TVs and another one has like a, animatronic doll like waving at you or something. Like it's really creepy and strange, and you can find the coolest like little bands and whatnot. So there's a lot of really cool DIY art spaces in Indy, and those spaces are prioritizing having all ages as opposed to having people just like drink, because there's a lot of regulations when it's all ages. And so I think that the reason that it's thriving so well is because there's these all ages spaces, and there's a need for places where somebody can make music. Hold on. My bad. Sorry. We're in a place where I know everybody, and I'm saying hi to them.
We did come right to the front door of the place everybody. That's okay.
But yeah, okay. Little kids want to mosh. There's all ages spaces. And then I think there's also like concert tickets have gotten so expensive.
So expensive.
It's insane.
I saw someone say they got they're going to their 5th Beyonce concert, and someone replied and they were like, "What job do you have?
Right?
Can I have that?
How are you doing this? I have seen Jack White on every tour that he's been on since 2014. This is the first time I can't go because the ticket is like $500. And like, I love Jack White. That's my favorite artist, but I can't afford $500. I saw Britney Spears in Vegas on the ground floor for $250. Like, that's as much as I'm willing to do. Maybe I'm old, maybe I'm a curmudgeon when it comes to this, but I think people still want to see music. They want to go and be a part of it and whatnot. And like, ticket prices have just gotten so abnormally high that I think a lot of people are turning to more local places for it.
That's incredible. Some of my favorite memories from in college, I hung out with a lot of music students. My freshman year, I lived in Forest in Bloomington, which is basically where all of the music students lived their freshman year because it was the closest adjacent dorm, or one of them. And because of that, I had friends in the music school all throughout college. And because of that, I was invited to a lot of house shows. One of my close friends, John, had an annual party called Pickle Fest. He was a music student. He pickled things.
Love that.
And we would eat the pickles at a party, get drunk, and then you would have all of his music student friends over and play it in their bands. And that was peak college community moments, core memory stuff. And I think those sorts of spaces are really hard to find now in a lot of ways. And I really like hearing that it's pretty common here.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's a certain amount of fun playfulness that comes with local music. And when you're going to those pickle parties and whatnot in college, you're all just hanging out, and then suddenly somebody breaks out a guitar, and then the next thing you know, you're all singing Sweet Caroline or something like that.
Unfortunately.
And unfortunately, for the 100th time. And so I think there's a similar energy around here. Like, the stages are small. That band is talking to their audience, like 100%. And so I think that people get really excited and they love the feel of it.
Yeah. One of my favorite videos of all time, I do not remember the band name or the song specifically, but there was a woman playing guitar on a stage, and she just started singing the chorus, and it was a small venue, everyone in the venue just started singing along with her. They knew her song.
Mm-hmm.
She just like broke down crying.
Yeah.
And I think that's like really powerful. Just like, it's like, oh, I've made it.
Yeah.
This sort of like wonderful come together moment.
Yeah, well, if you go to a Pat and the Pissers show,
Pat the Pissers, I gotta go.
you gotta go. There's entire songs where everyone in the audience knows all of the call and responses. They know everything, like the entire song, what you're supposed to say. It's like Rocky Horror Picture
That's what I
Show.
was gonna
Exactly, it's exactly like that, but like it is just like this weird punk band.
That's so cool.
So like they've truly built like a ton of community around that, and
Yeah.
it's so cool to be a part of it.
So what role do you feel like music plays in Indianapolis community outside of what we've already talked about? Is there anything specific you wanted to bring up, or?
I want to see more festivals come through to Indy. Like, Indy is really well known for being a convention city, right? Like, if you go to a Visit Indy event, their State of the Art of Tourism or whatnot that they have every year, it is like, we are amazing at conventions. People love us for our conventions. We have all of the hotels and the food and the downtown built for this. And I think that's amazing. With Taylor Swift having been here last year, I think it shows that like we are a good central place to have these big shows. And so I want more artists to come and do 3 nights here.
Yeah.
I want more local festivals to pop up, like not just Tonic, but like I think of like Treese. Treese is really is a local hip hop festival, and they have just like exploded onto the scene in the last like 5 years or so. And so I want to see more of those kind of things coming up through Indy.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising because Chicago is pretty close. And they obviously have a lot of music scene, and then Louisville, in my opinion, has a decent number of
Great music scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
Louder Than Life, Bourbon and Beyond. I could list like 6 of them.
Yeah.
It seems odd that with those two groups of people like so close, you would think that there would be a clear path to have.
Yeah, I think places like Hi-Fi and the Vogue, and even Live Nation, are making a lot more of those connections. I'm gonna talk Hi-Fi and Vogue. I think that those two companies are doing. So Hi-Fi is owned by MOKB, Vogue is owned by 45, or those are the booking agencies,
Yeah.
I guess, for those. And I think the people on both of those are doing really great at like building more connections in the music world that have maybe we just haven't really had a ton of that until now. And so I'm really excited to see like the Vogue just had Fontaine's DC, which is a really popular Irish band that has gotten a lot of attention and whatnot. And that ticket has been sold out since October, and they just played last week. And it's currently the beginning of May. So like that is what, like 6-7 months that it's been sold out, and it's crazy that they did that at the Vogue. So like they got that connection through an agent or whatever, and were able to like make that happen. So I think like we'll slowly start to see more and more of these like bigger artists come through as these two companies like continue building and continue growing.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
Easy. So why, this is a total pivot,
that's fine.
why did you move to Indianapolis? You said you only lived here for 3 years.
Yeah. So before I was living in Indy, I was living in Greencastle. And that is like an hour west on 70 in a cornfield. I went to school at DePauw, and then I continued working there. So I spent like 11 years working and living and existing in Greencastle. And shout out to that city. I love Greencastle. Like, it is a town of 9,000 people, and everyone knows each other. Like, I've had dinner with the mayor multiple times. Like, cool little place, right? You really feel small town vibes there. But it also means that I spent my 20s living in a cornfield, which was perhaps not my wisest decision, but definitely what I it's what I did. It's who I am. And I literally I turned 30 and I woke up that morning and I thought, I can't keep living in a small town throughout the rest of my 30s. Like, I did that in my 20s. I got to go try something new. I got to try something different. And Indy seemed like the closest, most accessible place for me to go to. So I left my job at DePaul and started to make a life up here. And I never thought that everyone when I moved up here, they were like, oh, you're going to love Indy. It's the best. You'll build your community and you'll have a great time. And I was like, okay, but I think I want to move somewhere else. I didn't know where. It was but I don't know if I want to stay in Indiana forever. And now here I am 3 years later and I'm like, God, Indy rocks. I love this place.
There's a weird, I haven't been able to find why, but there's a weird infectious sense when I moved here.
Infectious is the highlighted word of that. It's something about it is infectious.
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, cool.
So I have preconceived notions about Indiana.
Yeah.
Most of them are negative.
Well, duh. I'm from Evansville, so I got a lot of thoughts about Kentuckians.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was really hesitant, my wife is from here, as I said, and it just sort of why do I want to move to Indianapolis? But as soon as we moved, I was just in the greatest mood. I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it comes down to this sort of deep identity that you get in each of the neighborhoods, even though Indianapolis has deep sprawl and it's so big, landmass wise. Mm-hmm. I think where you live is sort of like a little fishbowl. Up in Broad Ripple has its own unique feel. Fletcher Place has its own unique feel. Downtown is, even right here, I feel like the Stutz itself is its own little neighborhood in a way. And with you can kind of see it in the background maybe, is the hospital building up. That's going to be a big sort of cultural hub in a way.
Yeah.
I think that sort of uniqueness of the individual pieces of Indianapolis keeps it feeling connected.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor. There's a lot of hometown flavor around here. I have a lot of pride for being a near Northsider. And do I know what that means? No, but I know that I love near Northside. I'm going to stay there for as long as I can. This is a great little place. I think that Indy has a lot of small town feels for being a larger city. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that it's still growing into its large cityness, if that's a word. And I think because it's still growing, people feel like they can have their hometown, they can have their feeling, but they can also help build it into becoming something even better down the line. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's a lot of love for realizing, oh gosh, I have an idea and it's not anywhere in this city and I can make this happen. And that's what people want. That's what makes them want to build a place here, a home here.
Yeah. And I think you've sort of taken that to heart in a lot of ways. And what you're doing, you're like, oh, I see this thing, I'm going to take hold of it and make it my own.
Yeah.
You're not taking a necessarily active role in that. Mm-hmm. You're not playing the music, as you said, but you are guiding it.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and that's powerful.
Yeah.
So you said you live on the near north side.
Mm-hmm.
What is there a more specific neighborhood or no? I don't know.
I think so. I think I'm trying to when I drive up, there is a little plaque, and
it's near north side.
Yeah. I think it's near Northside / Fall Creek. It's
okay.
Right around there. Yeah.
So if you were to take me to anywhere in that area, where would you take me? What's the identity of near north side?
Well, actually tonight,
cracks knuckles. Let's go.
So there's this. I'm missing a city event tonight because I was like, oh, we've got our podcast thing. But there's this field at 25th in the Monon, and it's 16 acres, and they don't know what to do with it. And so there's this council meeting that is happening tonight where they're asking the people of near Northside,
the near Northside Council,
what should we do with this? And I somebody sent it to me. I was like, oh, I gotta go. And then I saw the date, and I was like, oh, I can't make it. So if I was gonna take somebody to a place in near Northside, currently I think it would be this weird little 16-acre patch of field right off the Monon.
Safe that would make someone feel.
No, it's definitely not. There's bugs all over that. There's probably weird people roaming around
Midsummer
in there.
up here.
They'll see that's right up my alley, but not for everybody. So I guess like knowing that one weird field, that makes it feel very home, very home.
Are there restaurants or coffee shops,
Near
bookstores,
Northside?
anything?
No, it's still definitely developing. I guess I'm kind of close to like 16th, and there's like Festiva, there's Cohatch, there's Provider Coffee right there. Provider is wonderful. So
I think Provider literally provides to a lot of places locally, right?
I think so. I think they're one of them. I don't know if there's like multiple ones. I've only ever been to that one. But yeah, I guess like there's like, if it wasn't this random field on the Monon, it would probably be like, yeah, going right there to 16th in the Monon, where you've got these cool little coffee shops. And there's a cool little wine place called Soli that just opened up. There seems to be a lot of like neat little things happening right there.
I'm going to skip ahead in my questions. So I normally ask at the end, but I'm asking now because I feel like you have a good answer for this. Because you mentioned this 16 acre field. So I like to ask a question from the previous guest. So keep that in mind towards the end.
Oh, gosh.
So the question from the previous guest, her name is Jenna. She said, if you could build a third space, what would you build? And you got a beautiful 16-acre field.
I know, I got a great 16-acre field. What would I build there? Well, see, I kind of love that it's a field.
Oh, that's funny.
I do love that it's a field, but at the same time...
A field can be a third space.
A field can be a third space, but like it's not like maintained, and there's a lot of parks around there. So, part of me says like,
would you want that? I don't mean to guide your answer.
it's here.
So avoid me. Don't let me sway you in any way. Would you want that sort of large music venue? Like this is the spot where those large festivals are taking place.
No, it's way too small for that, and it would
really?
be so annoying.
16 acres.
They
is so
said
big.
16, but like
You could see the other side.
Yeah, you can see
Maybe
all
an
of
acre
it.
smaller than we both think it is.
That's honestly what I'm thinking. Or maybe it was 6 acres. Let's see. I think I would want to put right there. I do think like a nice little bar on the Monon Trail would be wonderful. That's not necessarily accessible for
I feel like
everybody.
the Monon
though.
is lacking that type of thing.
Right?
in
Like
general.
you can be walking on the Monon and then, I'm tired, I want to sit for a little bit and hang out. There's not a ton of places to like sit and hang out. There, Pots and Pies and Pans, I think, just opened up like a weird little shack on the Monon. I think it's up more
But
by
that's like a
Broad
great
Ripple.
idea.
And yeah, and like they can get ice cream, you can get like a little like coffee there or something like that. And they have like picnic tables, I think, out there. So like I think something like that in this little 16-acre space would be really cool. That and like a free library. I would never leave that
Arguably,
field.
all libraries are free.
That's true. But I guess like the little ones.
Yeah, I
where
know
you
what you're
leave
saying.
it.
I will up towards me. On
Even
the
a
Monon.
library would be cool.
Yeah, a full library.
Yeah.
Who needs a little library?
Yeah, it can be a full one.
A library with a bar in it.
Oh, don't get me excited. That's what the people
that
want.
legal?
I think there used to be something like that called the Thirsty Scholar that was around here.
Up near me on the Monon is Half Liter Barbecue.
Yeah.
It's right on the Monon. Well, obviously it runs directly through Broad Ripple, so there's a couple coffee shops and things. But I feel like the further south you go, because it ends on the end of Mass Ave, between Mass Avenue and where I live, I feel like it's pretty sparse.
But yeah, I would
I
say
feel like there's a lot of potential there.
yeah, there's probably, and I haven't walked the full Monon. That's one of my goals for the next year is to walk the full Monon.
Yeah.
I want to see, but I don't think that there's a ton between Mass Ave and right about 16th, or not Mass Ave and 16th, Mass Ave up to Broad Ripple. Like I just don't think there's a lot of beautiful nature, but I think a little watering hole would be great.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
Soda shop, soda pop shop.
Now that would be fun.
Did you know that you mentioned walking the full Monon? Did you know that you can, if you live in Marion County, which is the county we're in, you can get free access to the rideshare, the bike rideshare?
Wait, the Pacers? Really?
This is I'm not registered for it yet, but I will be because that's a deal.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I just paid like $6.
Don't do that.
I hadn't been on a bike in 20 years, and then last Tuesday, I was like, let's try riding a bike. And
Were you
so
wobbling?
Yeah, I can't turn. I
That's
can't
so
turn
funny.
yet. But it was really fun. And so now I'm sitting here like, maybe I need to buy a trike I feel like I could be the girl riding up and down the Monon on a trike.
That's funny.
Like that's what the people want.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of potential there, but
I'm
it
gonna
is
have to
free.
look into
Look it up.
that. Yeah.
I think this is either new or not new, and I'm stupid. So like,
Either way, we're both new to this city. So
it's true.
it's new to us.
So let's move outside the 16-acre field.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the city are you taking me? I am here from October.
Yeah. And
What?
you've never been?
I've never
You've
been
anywhere?
Anywhere.
Well, I would probably take you to Fountain Square because there's always something to do in Fountain Square. There's always a show going on.
I have been to the White Rabbit.
White
Cavern.
Rabbit, love
That
White
was
Rabbit.
an experience.
Yeah. What did you do? What did you see? Was it crazy?
We went to see a show titled Bitch.
Nice.
And so my wife invited me, and her friend invited her, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to see what's the word?
Burlesque?
Burlesque show."
That's-
And I think they thought it was a drag show.
Oh.
And I was like, I knew.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go see the burlesque show or whatever. So I walk in, and then they start like taking their titties out.
Yeah, they do.
And they were like, "What?" And I was laughing so hard. The entire time I was laughing. I was just like, here we are.
People get it very confused, but it is very different.
It's very different.
They're both really cool forms of art. But yeah, I think that's why Fountain Square is great. Like that can be happening at the same time like a weird little country band can be playing in hi-fi. At the same time, like a DJ set is taking over the hot chicken place down there. Like there's all kinds of weird music and like little community things that you can do. So I would definitely say I would take somebody that's never been to Indy before. I would take them to some show in Fountain Square. And then I would also make them get the flaming drink at Inferno Room because it's really obnoxious and it would embarrass them. And I think that's what you do to
I
a
always
new
felt
friend.
annoying. There was a sushi place in Arkansas we used to love going, and one of our favorite rolls was one of the ones they lit on fire.
Yeah.
It just tasted so good, but it was like they bring this thing to your table, they light it on fire, and you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But you're like, I'm loving this.
Yeah, right? It's like the person that orders fajitas at the Mexican
Yes,
restaurant.
and it's
you
like
know?
loud and sizzling.
Yeah, and
on fire.
everybody's like, we get it.
No shame. No shame here.
No shame.
All right. So you've kind of answered so many things. Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just think the arts are really great and they're thriving in Indy, and I'm really excited to see like where they continue to grow.
I feel like your involvement with art goes even further beyond music. And I'd love to hear more about that because you've worked at Pattern.
Yeah.
And Pattern is a local fashion magazine.
Well, so it was.
Question mark?
It,
Okay.
Yeah, Pattern is now, they work on the creative economy. They like do
Okay,
a lot of
so they
work
do
trying to
everything.
promote it now. So there's still a magazine, but they work really hard to like try and make Indy a great place for artists to like live and work here. And I like love the work that they're doing. I think it's amazing. My entire arts journey started off in theater, and then I realized I cannot be an actor. That is not a lifestyle I want to lead. And I then like went through magazine and books and everything. I've kind of dabbled in just about everything. And found that like admin is really the place for me. But yeah, I think that Indianapolis is a really great place for an artist to start something up and to start something new. Thinking about Chris upstairs with Romanus Records, like this guy is like getting record construction deals with like Slipknot or trying to think of like other Outcast, like Eminem, like things, cool people, right? Want to
Names,
work with
like
him.
capital
Names that
M
we
names,
know,
yeah.
capital M names, exactly. And like that all started here in Indy. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy that there's something that cool here.
I feel like there's a really large. So I was looking for intro music for my podcast, and I just typed in like cool Indianapolis local musicians. Just like the lamest thing you could do.
Oh,
I
yeah.
came across some interesting people, but I felt like there was a ton of like hip hop artists.
Yeah.
That are local, which I'm really interested to investigate that a little more. But there's all sorts of people.
Oh, yeah.
That are doing crazy, unique things. The person who I ended up contacting, her name is Jennison.
That name's familiar. Probably
Um,
have run into her at some point.
And she was very kind to give me her music, but I feel like I was so impressed by the variety and the uniqueness as well as the talent. Like, I think when you think local artist, you think like low skill potentially, especially when you're outside the scene like me.
When you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
but these people are like really, they've got it going on.
Yeah,
Um,
like our musicians are great at crafting music. Like they've dedicated their lives to doing that, regardless of whether they went to college for it or not. Like they have spent a lot of time crafting that. We're sitting in the Stutz by some really wild pieces of art right now. And like, it's kind of crazy to think that like this cool thing is made by somebody that probably, you know, has a studio here.
I also
or
noticed we're
something.
sitting next to a sign that says podcast studio, but we're sitting in the middle of a giant room. We should have maybe investigated that further.
Figured that one out, yeah. No, I think there's a lot of quality art being produced in Indy, and it's up to the layperson to go and find it, because it's here. And once you find your little way into it, it's like this huge space that you can explore.
Yeah, that's wonderful. One of the main guiding sort of reasons I made this podcast is because Anna, my wife, and I would go on walks around our neighborhood. I've told this story before on here, but I started to notice these murals everywhere on people's garages.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to know who did that. It's just such a simple question.
Yeah.
And the very first podcast guest I had was the artist who did that. Her name is Megan Jefferson.
Oh, cool.
She's pretty commonly known up here, but no one I mentioned.
Yeah, I was
her
gonna say,
to.
I know that it starts with an M.
Yeah.
And then once you said that she's that one, I was like, oh yeah,
Yes.
I've seen her work.
So just sort of like the discovery of art that you enjoy, and then seeking it out further is really something I'm really interested to. Actually, there's a couple murals that are clearly done by the same artist on Mass Ave that have a name associated with it. I don't have it written down anywhere, but I know that I can seek that person out.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, art is a wonderful third space it is a super accessible third space for a lot of people. Like an art gallery, an art opening doesn't have to be for, only people that drink. It doesn't have to be for people that don't have kids. Like it can be a community for everyone. Art galleries, books, like local poetry slams, like things like that. It's a wonderful, wonderful third space that also engages your brain, and I think in a really healthy and like exciting way. A lot of people just ingest a lot of media. I do it. Like I'm 10 seasons into Hell's Kitchen right now. Like, I'm doing it, but am I sitting there thinking about Gordon Ramsay and what he's saying? No, I'm just like taking it in. But I am sitting here. I've actually been sitting here looking at this painting over here, thinking like, what in the guppy?
Snap a photo of it.
Yeah, right. We'll show it on there. Like, there's like a guppy and a rat hanging out or something, and like I've been sitting here thinking about that the whole time. So I think art is a wonderful third space, can be a wonderful third space, and a great way to engage your mind and your brain into thinking of something new.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like Indianapolis is like a city or a government? I think I know what your answer is going to be.
I'm
Do
a
you
very
feel like-
positive person. You never know.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a lot of support?
Well, I'm not that positive.
It's funny that you say that, because Megan actually felt differently. She felt like or even beyond that, like ignoring the government. Is there community support for it? City support? City
Yeah.
in the people.
Yeah, I think that the people, I think of First Fridays. Those are really big days for artists, like more traditional forms of artists, right? Painters and sculptors. And so you've got the Stutz, you've got the Murphy Building, it's the Factory Arts District. I keep calling it farts, and it's not farts, it's FARDS. So
That's their fault, though.
that's on them. Like, what am I supposed to
Fards.
do?
Fards is basically there.
You've got the Harrison Center. So, like, there's 4 right there that are these big places that you can just, like, go and roam and walk. And if you go to any of them on a First Friday, they're packed with people. So I think that, the indie community loves and respects art. I'm not well versed on it enough to know if the government does, but I do think that the people of Indianapolis love art. And we could really see that when what was that basketball thing that came around? You were not here
I was
for
not
it.
here.
You were not here for it. They installed a bunch of really cool basketball installations.
Oh, I
when
think
the
I did hear about that.
All-Star game came through. That's what it was.
That's cool.
Yeah, and people loved it.
So that's wonderful. Great. So that's pretty much all I have. Is there anything else you want to speak on?
No, I talk entirely too much sometimes. So no, I think I've said everything that I can think of about Indy and the third spaces.
I hinted at this earlier, though. I have one last question.
Uh-huh.
What question would you like to ask the next person? It can be anything. It does not have to be related to art or third spaces.
Okay. It doesn't, but should it be?
And that's
Other
up to you.
people have been doing that?
A couple of people got kind of like
Yeah, what if-
existential with it.
Oh.
So
what have been the other questions?
I don't want to share. I don't want to
No.
guide you in any way.
I want to know what the people
One
are
of
doing.
I don't want to say favorite. I don't like saying favorites, but the
Right.
question that I found most unique was from my second guest, Mark. He said, "If you were not afraid, what would you do?" Which is like a really
That's bold.
It's like ooh,
You were not afraid. What would?
but don't take that one.
No, I can't do that one. All right, my question to the next person is, who would win in a fight? The skeleton guy that's in 100 Acres at Newfields, or the big statue in the square? What's her name? Like Lady Liberty or something? Those who would win in a fight?
That's really funny. I don't even know who that. I probably have to download a picture of the skeleton guy.
Yeah, if you obviously not a John Green reader, or else he's featured in The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I
he's-
have read Fault in Our Stars and I've seen the
Oh.
movie, but that was a decade ago.
Well, then, no, you can't be expected to remember a book from a decade ago. I stand by that. Yeah, no, he's like this big bones looking guy, and then
Is it like the Home Depot skeleton?
no, it's on the ground, and it's kind of like it's like a rock formation, like
Oh, I
painted
really
rock
should know.
formation. It's super cool.
All right. John Green, if you're out there, the
Let's
goal
know.
of the podcast is to get you on, so please listen.
Keep my fingers crossed for you. I don't have any connections.
Have your agent call my agent, and my agent is just me. So thank you, Kate, for joining me on
Thank you so
Third
much,
Space
Michael.
Indy. Hit me with a high five. Bang.
Michael here. Thank you so much to Kate Grimm for joining me on this episode of Third Space Indy. You can find more about Indianapolis's Tonic Ball at tonicball.org. Third Space Indy is produced, edited, and created right here in Indianapolis, Indiana by myself, Michael Zarick. To get updates on Third Space Indy, you can follow along at Third Space Indy on Instagram. You can also visit our website at thirdspaceindy.com, where you can also sign up for the weekly email newsletter I send out in regard to each episode. And I also do some writing on the side for other random community-based topics that come to mind. Thank you so much to the local artist Jennison for offering me the ability to use her song Scared Rabbit as the theme music for Third Space Indy. And as always, thank you so much for listening. I hope to share the next episode of Third Space Indy with you.